Welcome to the Interdisciplinary Collaborative Workshops, Public Scholarship and Teaching Conference, Democracy Under Threat in Times of Populism and Racial Nationalism. In the years since this conference was postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, threats to democracy have not abated. Rather, across the political spectrum within the United States, there is a growing consensus that democracy is under threat. Yet, democratic inclusion has a long history of being conditioned on one's national, racial, economic, and gender status. And there's an equally long history of contesting these populist and racial nationalist exclusions. From this perspective, democracy is a precarious endeavor that has always been under threat. However, recent interest in these threats has highlighted the ongoing marginalization of Black, Indigenous, and non-white communities that have been excluded in various ways since the nation's founding.
Something has shifted in the past few years. There is a recognition by an even broader swath of the nation that democratic institutions are imperiled by a range of forces, from the rise of white supremacist and potentially insurrectionist movements to continuing efforts to dilute and undermine the voting power of Black and Indigenous people and other people of color, to the types of police violence that led to the murder of George Floyd and sparked a year of protest and uprising against state violence and individual assaults against Black communities of color. This conference invites you into these debates about what is new and what is old in the long history of democracy's contested status within and beyond the United States. How have populism and racial nationalism framed debates about democracy? In what ways have and do these forces and movements both constitute and threaten the rise, spread, and maintenance of democracy?
Drawing scholars and students from our institution and across the national and international community of scholars who work on questions of democracy, populism, and racial nationalism, we invite you to join us for 2 days of dynamic panel presentation, interactive conversation around these issues, and a powerful keynote address from Professor Khadija Costley-White, Assistant Professor of Journalism and Media Studies at Rutgers University. The format we have adopted for the conference is meant to create a space to hear from leading and emerging thinkers about the research into these questions, to give them a venue to be in conversation with each other and to engage in public scholarship that invites all community members to consider these critical questions. This event is free and open to public, and you're in for a treat. Thank you.
Welcome again to the Interdisciplinary Collaborative Workshops Public Scholarship and Teaching Conference, Democracy Under Threat in Times of Populism and Racial Nationalism. This conference is part of a larger collaboration between the University of Minnesota Twin Cities and 3 historically Black colleges and universities, Morehouse College and Spelman College in Atlanta, and Howard University in Washington, D.C. Over the past several years, faculty members and students across our 4 institutions have been working together to create spaces for our scholars, students, and communities to be in conversation and work in solidarity. These recent efforts were, however, rooted in an earlier set of collaborations that were directed by my colleagues, Professor Clarissa Myrick Harris, and the director of the Interdisciplinary Center for the Study of Global Change, Karen Brown.
From 1995 to 2010, the Interdisciplinary Center for the Study of Global Change, or ICGC, operated a Global Issues Honors Consortium with funding from the Mellon and MacArthur Foundations. This program brought together students from the University of Minnesota, Spelman, Morehouse, Clark Atlanta, Morris Brown, and Tougaloo colleges, and Dillard and Chicago State universities to participate in a coordinated set of activities over 2 years to prepare underrepresented students for graduate school with an international focus. Many of the 165 students who participated in the program subsequently went on to complete graduate studies in fields ranging from public policy to medicine and law, including a number of PhDs. The University of Minnesota remains committed to partnering with HBCUs in ways that strengthen and mutually support our shared mission of diversifying and transforming the academy and amplifying our global social justice efforts. Dr. Myrick Harris at Morehouse College and I recently worked together to secure grant funding from the Hearst Foundation. This grant supports a faculty group from Spelman, Morehouse, and the University of Minnesota planning for a new iteration of the globally focused graduate school preparation program that builds on our earlier partnership.
Since the start of the pandemic and the murder of George Floyd, the ICW has convened 2 half-day teachings on policing and protest and 6 racial justice workshops with the goal of creating a safe and brave space where we convene, speak across experience and expertise, cross-disciplinary, institutional and regional boundaries, and learn together and with our larger audience. We invite you to explore these past events and workshops by visiting our Google site and YouTube channel. Please also remain in touch with us through Twitter at ICW Democracy. Today, we specifically invite you to complete your registration for the Democracy Under Threat in Times of Populism and Racial Nationalism conference by clicking here. And we invite you to share this welcome video with those members of your communities whom you believe will benefit from participating in this conference.
Finally, we offer a special thanks to the College of Liberal Arts at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities for the Interdisciplinary Collaborative Workshop grant that has supported these efforts. We also thank our generous co-sponsors, the Interdisciplinary Center for the Study of Global Change, the Departments of History, Political Science, Sociology, and African American and African Studies, the Minnesota Population Center, the Office of Public Engagement, the Center for Holocaust and Genocide Studies, the Center for the Study of Political Psychology, the Center for German and European Studies, and the Humphrey School of Public Affairs. We thank each for their financial and administrative support. To learn more about our sponsor and co-sponsors, please read the description below. We look forward to seeing and hearing from you throughout the conference.